From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Brooke Jensen with your 10 a.m. news headlines. Before we get started, we're going to check in with our producer, Grace. Grace, what's going on in-house today?
Well, Brooke, what's going on today is that our reporter, Chris Koo, is going to be checking in on language schools post-pandemic. We have our reporter, Oogie, who is doing Bike Week. She is going to be going to BCIT's event. There's a table being set up and to promote students to bike more. There'll be coffee. There'll be also some bike checks and everything like that. Nick is going to be chasing EV chargers in older buildings. Basically, BC residents are pressuring landlords to upgrade buildings to allow EV chargers. FTR, we have Maddie. Maddie's going to be covering a story on the Lost Souls Parade and the Cabaret. So that should be an interesting story. And then our feature is going to be covered by Sonia and Jocelyn, and they are covering their story on the BC government rejecting emergency orders preventing logging in the habitat of endangered spotted owls. And that is what's going on here in-house, and I'm going to send it over to you, Brooke.
Wonderful. Thank you, Grace. A fire broke out in Burnaby early this morning, destroying 4 homes. The fire broke out roughly around 2 a.m., requiring 11 trucks and 42 firefighters. The RCMP say fire investigators and the police are still on scene, but say it's too dangerous to go into the buildings and investigate. They are waiting for an evacuator to take the building down and will be investigating from above as they do so. Port Moody police say they have seized hundreds of stolen identification, mail, license plate, and devices to make fake IDs. The department is recommending several fraud charges against the man they have been investigating since July. The investigation started when they pulled over a stolen vehicle that was linked to a theft a month prior. Police obtained a search warrant and searched the subject's home. He has since been released from custody, but while prosecution is looking over the recommended charges. President Joe Biden announced that Israel has agreed to his request that will allow humanitarian assistance from Egypt into Gaza, with pre-understanding that it would be subject to investigations, and that it will go to the civilians, not to Hamas. Biden added to the announcement telling the Israeli people that America stands with them and that they are not alone.
I come to Israel with a single message. You're not alone. You are not alone. As long as the United States stands, and we will stand forever, we'll not let you ever be alone.
The supplies will include much-needed water, food, and medicine. According to Biden, the U.S. Defense Department data is suggesting that the Israeli forces were not responsible for the Gaza hospital attack yesterday. A massive manhunt is on the go for 4 men, including one with a murder charge, that have escaped custody from a central Georgia jail. The county sheriff, David Davis, says they possibly had outside help.
There was some video footage of a vehicle that had been there earlier in the evening that looked like they had been tampering with the fence, as well as bringing some items into the enclosed area of the fence that we believe were used by these inmates to escape.
Davis goes on to say that at the time of the escape, there were a little over 800 detainees, but fewer than 10 people working at the jail. On to our weather report for the day. It is obviously raining very heavily outside today. The rainfall is expected to be 15 to 25 millimeters, with winds on the island and up to Haida Gwaii are predicting to be up to 110 kilometers an hour. Erosion from the wildfires that were happening throughout the summer can lead to a risk of flooding and landslides due to sudden heavy rain, as well as slippery roads. So be extremely careful when you are driving out there today. And be extra careful while walking. That was your news headlines for 10 a.m. I'm Brooke Jensen, and you are listening to 1680 The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikka-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Teresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikka-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Hello, I'm Grace McLeod, and this is For the Record on 1680 The Crow. Halloween is just around the corner, and pumpkin patches, spooky mazes, haunted houses, and a range of other Halloween-like things are currently scattered everywhere around the Lower Mainland. Some of these attractions can be quite expensive to attend, This is not the case for one haunted house runner. While the attraction may be free, a fund has been set up in place to support a local charity, and all the donations will go towards their cause. I'm here today with Port Coquitlam resident McCarthy Y to talk about the charity, Halloween, and of course, his haunted house.
So every year I try to change it up essentially because we have a lot of families who come every year. It'd be kind of boring to see the same thing over and over. So pretty much every year the goal is to revamp and completely change the walkthrough. So this year, I built a giant archway as the entrance, which is a good photo op for families before coming in. And then, so this year we've got 7 themed rooms as you walk through. Each room ranges from themes. You got, scarecrow, clowns, zombies, kind of your typical Halloween different themes, you could say. In addition to those rooms, we also have multiple props we've got like in the front of our house, we got 2 roofs. So we also have big animatronics on the roofs as well. So in addition to the actual walkthrough, which is really cool, you also have a lot just going on in the graveyard in the front of the house as a display. So really, it's a massive Halloween attraction that caters to all ages, and it's a great event for families.
Well, that sounds so cool. I've seen the pictures on Facebook and I was immediately like, I'm so coming to this eventually.
Yeah, no, it's definitely really cool.
Awesome. My next question is, how many years have you had this haunted house kind of thing going? Is it like an annual thing or?
So it's a good question. So the kind of the backstory to the whole thing is that I grew up in the house that I'm in currently, and our next door neighbors have always done Halloween decorations since I can literally remember. And it was always, quite small scale, but they had, the skeletons, a vampire, the classic Halloween stuff. However, as I got into my teenage years, they really started to up their game. They built basically a haunted house. And then for me, about 7 years ago, when I was around 16, I was like, let me give it a shot. And it started out very simple, couple lights, a few animatronics, nothing crazy. However, as I graduated high school, got going with school, I basically said, screw it, I'm going to do it myself and try to basically outdo the neighbors. And so pretty much every year it is a very, very healthy competition now between the 2 houses. And that's also another big thing that families like is when you show up, it's, you're not just getting one haunted house, it's 2 separate haunted houses that you can walk through. So for a lot of families, it's worth the drive. But to answer your question, so now probably when it's been a real haunted attraction, probably 6 years is probably year number 6, I'd say.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And it is always good to have a nice friendly competition, especially with your neighbors, people you kind of grown up near, and that's really cool that you
Well, and I was gonna say, and the best too is like really the competition is just who can raise more money for charity, which can't really get better than that, right? So
exactly, honestly, and that's really where it's at. And
exactly.
I reached out. So all right, I know you were a student. How has it been balancing school and the attraction?
That's a good question. Well, let's just say it's busy for the fall season. So I actually intentionally take summer classes to offset the amount of classes I have to take during this semester, simply because I wouldn't be able to survive doing 5 classes haunted house. That'd just be a little insane. To answer your question, it's a balancing act, but one that I think at this point now, because I'm in my 3rd year of school, I've got it pretty down packed in terms of how I get it all done.
Well, that's good. That's good that you got that kind of going for you.
Yeah, it's a good healthy balance.
Yeah. All right. And are you just doing it for the mainly like your attraction? I know your neighbor's doing it, but is it just you kind of helping out?
So it's really like it's kind of funny. My family loves it. My parents support it, but they have no intention of doing much with it. I'm really a one-man show type of thing. The only time that I do get a bit of help is the takedown, because as you know, Vancouver weather tends to get really cold really quick. So basically what's interesting is the haunted house actually takes 2 to 3 weeks to set up, but we get it down in roughly 18 hours on November 1st. So basically, it's a long process, but the family helps out at the tail end, basically.
Well, that's good. That's good that you're that kind of thing, but definitely ran by you.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So to enter the attraction, you've kind of talked about having the donation set up and for the thing. And this year you've kind of chosen the Backpack Buddies. Can you tell me why you chose this charity and Yeah, why did you decide
Yeah.
to go for this charity this year?
No, it's a good question. So, something that for me I've always wanted to do with this event is to raise money for a local organization group, something that actually affects people in our community. I think that's quite important. And so, this year, Backpack Buddies, we chose it because, you know, the year prior we did the Vancouver Food Bank, which they were very, very appreciative of. And then this year, I was basically thinking, you know, how can I help kids in our community that deal with food insecurity? And that is essentially the entire mission of Backpack Buddies. And essentially just through kind of doing online research, I stumbled upon them, got to know them a little bit. And then actually what's really cool is I reached out, basically said, hey, here's what we're going to do for you guys. Is there anything you can do for me in any sort of way? And this year it's really cool. They partnered with us. And in addition to being able to drop off cash donations, there's a QR code. So you can donate online, which for a lot of people, it's a bit, you know, people feel safer donating online. It goes directly to them. And then, you know, you don't have to leave, you know, a lot of bills at the front of a house, basically, right? So definitely chosen for their mission. And then it was just really cool how they were able to work with us and help out.
How is it going about like picking those charities? Like, I know you mentioned that it was like picking for a local one, but is there like a theme usually you try to go for each year, or do you just kind of?
That's a good question. I think pretty much every year, at least for the past 4 years, the focus has been on food insecurity. It's for whatever reason, it's always just spoken to me as terms of something that, you know, I can't imagine people, like I said, literally could be in our neighborhoods that deal with. And so, yeah, the past 4 years, it's been the Share Food Bank, Vancouver Food Bank, and then now Backpack Buddy. So yeah, I think for me, just the main focus is people who suffer being able to just, you know, provide for their family and then the kids.
That's really awesome. What about Halloween has you doing all this? Why Halloween, not Christmas, not anything? Like, why Halloween?
So I'd say it's funny, actually. I've never really had that question, but it's a good one. I think, quite honestly, you know, the real reason I picked this time of year has a whole lot to do with just blending a bit of a passion mixed with a goal to just help out our community. I think, you know, for me, a huge part of the reason, you know, that I'm doing this whole thing is because, you know, I want to go into law enforcement. I want to help serve our community. However, I got to get my degree done first. And that does take some years. So a huge portion of, the behind the scenes and what pushes me to do this is just to give back to my community while I'm in school. And on the flip side to that, I have just a weird passion for Halloween. It's just kind of, everybody's got a season of the year. Everybody likes, you know, it's Christmas, it's Halloween, it's this or that. Halloween's my thing. I think a huge portion goes 100% to my neighbors and just the amount of childhood memories I have from their big event that they did every year. So for me, it's just being able to take something that I already like, mixed with a goal of mine to help out, and then we get this giant, insane haunted house out of it.
I love that. Halloween's my season too. Like all my family, it's Christmas, everything. So this is my time to shine. So I'm
exactly
just,
right.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, exactly. Not many people do, but you know, the some that do, it's appreciated, you know.
Absolutely. All right. You kind of mentioned that each year you're kind of going and you're building more and more. Do you already have ideas for your next season?
Yeah, unfortunately. My parents are like, you know, they're like, hey, like, how many years is this gonna go? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm doing it till I basically move out.
I love it. That's awesome. And my final question is there anything else you'd like to add before we close?
Any listeners out there in the lower mainland region, that it is worth the drive. The amount of families that we've had come up to me and say, hey, you know, we're from White Rock, South Surrey. I've had people from Abbotsford, and you know, again, I did previously mention this, but yeah, the fact that there's 2 haunted houses quite literally next door to each other, it's not something that you come take a look at and it's done in 2 minutes. It's a fun outing for a family or you know, a couple, what have you. So yeah, I just kind of like to say that if somebody out there is looking for something to do during this Halloween season, this is the place to be.
From passion to a truly selfless act of kindness, McCarthy Y is dedicated to make this season a memorable one for his community, as well as the charities he is working with. Thank you for listening to For the Record. I'm Grace McLeod with 1680 The Crow.
everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikka-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikka-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikka-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikka-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Good morning. I'm Anthony Atanasov, and you're listening to 1680 The Crow. It's 10:30. Here are your morning news updates. BCIT is hosting an event for students who ride bikes to school. A reporter, Ugiloy Suvanova, found out the details of the event and how BCIT is encouraging students to ride bikes to school.
BCIT is encouraging students to ride bikes to school by setting up the Bike Information Station on Burnaby Campus. Fall Go Bike Week is happening from October 16th to October 29th. The main purpose of this event is to bring cyclists together as a community to connect and share information, break down barriers to people, and discuss associated with saving money, avoiding traffic, and helping the planet. There will be free coffee and treats, but students should bring their own cup to reduce single plastic use. The Go Bike Week station is happening from 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. on Breezeway between SW1 and SW3. I'm Mugila Swanova for 1680 The Crow.
News coming out of Burnaby, fire crews responded to an overnight fire in Burnaby that destroyed 4 homes. It should be noted that these homes were unoccupied and scheduled to be demolished. Responders received a call around 2 a.m. regarding the fire, which is around 18th Avenue and Griffiths Drive. There were about 40 firefighters sent to the scene, and investigators are still trying to determine the cause of the fire. Police in Port Moody say they've seized hundreds of pieces of identification, stolen mail, stolen license plates, and devices used to make fake IDs. The department says they are recommending numerous fraud-related charges against the man they arrested last week. It started back in July when police were called to a report of a mail theft, and officers pulled over a stolen vehicle linked to the theft about a month later. Police say they obtained a warrant to search the suspect's home last week, and he's since been released from custody while the BC Prosecution Service mulls the recommended charges. London Drugs, one of British Columbia's best-known retail stores, says that the ongoing violent shoplifting is so serious that it might have to close several stores around the province. Despite efforts in spending millions to add extra security, theft is still a major issue. Clint Mallman, president and COO of London Drugs, explains how badly the situation has gotten.
We routinely have our employees threatened with knives, needles, machetes, and other sort of bear spray. It's in northern BC, it's on Vancouver Island. We see it universally everywhere.
Although London Drugs did not provide a date on if any locations would be shut down, there is currently a conversation in place. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has welcomed a dozen leaders from across the Caribbean to Ottawa as part of a 2-day summit aimed at forming closer ties with Canada. The CARICOM group includes 15 countries and 5 overseas territories, spanning from Bahamas to Trinidad and Tobago. Trudeau says Canada is working with these countries to help make a world that is more sustainable, safer, and affordable.
These are serious, consequential times. As strategic partners, as friends, if we want to protect our people, if we want to deliver for our citizens, we have to work together.
As the Israel-Hamas war continues to roil, Canada's political leaders spoke at a conference in Ottawa aimed at combating anti-Semitism, organized by the Centre for Israel and Jewish Affairs. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau told the crowd that Canada condemns the October 7th Hamas attacks and will steadfastly continue its support for Israel.
Canada will always be a friend of Israel and defend its rights, including its right to exist.
And moving on to weather, well, somehow it's worse than yesterday's. Showers have been ongoing since early in the morning, with temperatures reaching 12 degrees. Environment Canada issued warnings for Metro Vancouver, North Shore, Sea to Sky Highway, Sunshine Coast, Kitimat, and across Vancouver Island as the province prepares for an atmospheric river. The Lower Mainland is expected to see about 80 millimeters of rain, while West Vancouver is looking at between 180 and 200 millimeters of rain. Environment Canada predicts the weather will continue throughout Wednesday and much into the evening. And those were your news updates for this hour. Tune in at 12 with your news and sports update with Brooke Jensen. I'll be back at 12:30 with more news. I'm Anthony Atanesov with 1680 The Crow. Stay dry out there.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. but it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Siggi-Kane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.